Good evening. I'm Michael Harrington, Managing Director of TheatreWorks USA, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's event entitled Telling Our Stories and Talking About Race. The mission of TheatreWorks USA is to create exceptional, transformative theatrical experiences for young and family audiences in diverse communities throughout North America. We acknowledge and honor the moral responsibility that comes with this platform and privilege. While unable to produce on stage, we have been doing what we can to further our mission by creating virtual and digital experiences through programs such as our online academy and TheatreWorks Anywhere. Tonight's event is a part of that effort and was inspired by our renewed commitment to embrace that responsibility, act accordingly, and amplify the voices of Black artists and other artists of color in order for the stories we tell to more accurately represent the audiences we serve. A special thank you to former and current staff members who have made tonight's event possible, including Sheldon Fisher, Meredith Suttles, Jillian Carucci, and Brendan O'Brien. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce TheatreWorks USA's Artistic Director, Barbara Pasternak.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad you're here with us tonight. I can't see you, but I know there are a lot of you out there, and I'm so grateful you could join us. As parents everywhere struggle to explain anti-Black police violence and the worldwide protest movement aimed at ending it to their kids, award-winning playwright, poet, and changemaker Idris Goodwin, who is here with us this evening, offered the gift of 5 short play scripts for children and families to act out under the title Free Play, Open Source Scripts Toward an Anti-Racist Tomorrow. Designed for children ranging in age from 6 to 14 plus, they spark conversation about race in America and offer different insights about disconnects in the racial conversation. They provide a model for open source theater and storytelling in which the connection between playwright and community is direct. Acknowledging the need and importance to extend our programming into the community engagement space, former Development Associate Sheldon Fisher suggested we host a reading of these plays, followed by a conversation. So tonight, 2 of the 5 plays will be read by parent, artist, activist, and TheatreWorks USA alumna Shelley Williams and her daughter Selah, and paired actor-comedian Bill Bellamy and his son Barron. The readings will be followed by a discussion with our panel. The panel includes Idris Goodwin, playwright, educator Jennifer Blue, family therapist Kelly Dumas, and our 4 performers. Just a reminder, please save questions for the Q&A portion of the event. Now let me introduce the director and moderator for the evening, TheatreWorks USA alumna director NJ Aguna. NJ is an educator and a director of theater and film. She most recently directed The Lover by Harold Pinter at the New Ohio Theater and Till, a musical that premiered at Signature Theater. She approaches theater with curiosity and wonder, believing that it can not only heal us, but show us all possibilities of the world that we inhabit. She has worked on a national and international scale, exploring classic text, developing new plays, devising theatrical experiences through myth and spectacle, and investigating new ways to explore trauma and mental illness through theater. She is a Drama League alumna and teaching artist with the Tectonic Theater Project. NJ also teaches at both Drew and LaGuardia universities. Take it away, NJ.
Thank you so much, and welcome everyone. We're so excited and happy to have you with us today. What's really great about being able to do these readings via Zoom is that it's a more accessible way for us to start to create community and explore the different ways of storytelling through new mediums and ways to have conversations with our children through theater. So I'm going to introduce the rest of our panel. Yes. So Idris Goodwin is our playwright of the evening, but he is a playwright, a breakbeat poet, and director of the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center at Colorado College. His plays include And in This Corner, Cassius Clay, How We Go On, Hype Man, and This is Modern Art. Goodwin serves on both the advisory boards of the Theater for Young Audience USA and Children's Theater Foundation Association. He is the co-host the Same Old New School podcast on Vocalo. Our next panelist, Jennifer Blue, has been an educator for 28 years in Connecticut public school system. She has served in various capacities, ranging from the classroom teacher to literacy specialist to assistant principal and principal in Hartford, New Haven, Westport, and finally Danbury. Ms. Blue currently serves as the assistant principal of West Side Middle School Academy in Danbury. And our last panelist, Kelly Dumas, is a licensed clinical social worker, has over 18 years of experience in human services, working with the homeless, chemically dependent, developmentally disabled, severely mentally ill, and youth. She is currently employed with the Best Self Behavioral Health in Buffalo, New York, where she oversees the specialty substance use services, which includes mobile substance use treatment, intensive residential treatment for pregnant and parenting women, substance use treatment, and services inside several jails and courthouses and recovery center. Hello, guys. How are you doing? And I'm going to bring back our families as well. So I'm bringing back the Bellamy family and the Williams family just to join us on this panel. Hello, hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hey.
Hi, guys. Another round of applause for your reading. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Idris, I'm going to start with you. And while I'm asking these questions of our panel, and we're just going to kind of have this conversation going, for those of you at home, if you have any questions or if they come up, please put them in the Q&A section and we will get to them. So just start thinking about them. Idris, what was the impetus for writing these plays?
Yeah, well, first off, I just want to say thank you to the brilliant readers. I appreciate y'all so much. And it was really cool to see you guys reading those with your kids. It's something, for some weird reason, it just never occurred to me that was another lane that these plays could exist in. And that's really what sparked me to write them, is that since we've been in the lockdown, I've been doing this a lot with my own family, just for fun, you know what I mean? And, I have a 8-year-old and a 9-year-old. He obviously can't read plays, but he's like the hype man for the plays. He just kind of makes the noises. But I have my mother-in-law lives with us too. So we have a multi-generational family. And so a lot of these plays kind of came out of that, when and I live in Louisville. So Breonna Taylor really sent ripples through the community here, and so that, then boom, we had Arbery, and then we had George Floyd. And so where it sparked was when Sesame Street, it was a Sesame Street special on CNN. And I loved the way in which, they used art, they used the puppets and had the voices of kids. And I thought it was so effective. And it helped me and my wife, who both we're both writers. We both write a lot about, issues of race and all of that. And yet we were still trying to figure out, how do we talk to our boy about this, our brown skinned boy about this. And Sesame Street, which was a show he grew up on, and Van Jones helped us facilitate that conversation. And as a writer, I was like, well, I can do something too. You know what I'm saying? And I do a lot of writing for kids. So I was like, I'm just gonna pour my thoughts and my heart into just these plays real quick. We put the whole thing together in 10 days. And we just banged some plays out and put them out in the world. And so it's really gratifying to see, where it can go. And I'm very grateful for this moment. And it was really dope. And as a child of the 90s, it's very dope to see my man Bill Bellamy rocking with the Fleeces as well.
Yeah. Oh man, that's really great to hear. Because reading them, I was like, yeah, things have changed since I was a child, and like I did get a lot of harder talks were facilitated through theater, through Sesame Street, and it's a really great way of really engaging your community, but also bringing up things that you didn't know how to bring up with your families. And I'm wondering what the response has been from families who've read these plays.
It's been really overwhelmingly positive and really just very powerful to me. People saying, you know, particularly mothers especially, and Water Gun Song really came out of my wife's own trepidation with that. And I'm kind of with the kid in the play. I'm kind of like with Sam in the show. Like, I'm like, no, it's all good. We'll figure it out, you know. Yeah, so a lot of folks have reached out saying that really resonated with them too. And so, yeah, I mean, we're in this together, you know what I mean? And this really just comes out of just the side of me that just wants to do good things for humanity, and just remind people we're in this together, and any little tiny thing I can do with the skills I have, I'm happy to do it. So it's been all positive. It's been all gratifying. It's been above and beyond my expectations, and you know, it's been really tremendous. But it's just a reminder too that, you know, your struggles are not just your struggles. You know, your anxieties are just not your anxieties. That, like, we're all going through this stuff, you know.
Yeah, that it is our mirror to society. A lot of times theater can be. And, you know, different methods of storytelling are a catalyst for lessons and morals. And I'm curious how others have interacted with storytelling, or how going through these plays have affected you, or through the viewing, you know, and also on the working on.
NJ, I'm assuming you're asking that to the
Yes,
yeah, right? Yeah, okay.
And I know, Jennifer, we talked about it, but like, I know you also really resonated with the Water Gun Song as well.
Water Gun
hit.
in particular resonated with me. When I was a child, I was not permitted to play with water guns. There was really no discussion about why we couldn't have a gun. It was just told no. And so on a hot summer day, you thought, oh, your friends have water pistols, let's play with that. But my father was quite adamant about it. And so when I became a mother myself, I told my children, nope, absolutely not. We're not going to have water guns in this house. And mainly because, you know, guns promote violence and things of that nature. So I didn't want my kids engaging in violent games or violent play. But as the years progressed, we've had issues of students. I've known students who have been caught up with police officers because they had like airsoft guns. So they're not real guns, but they look real. And primarily because of the color of their skin, they were immediately assumed as armed and dangerous. And so even those children were engaged in play, they had to deal with the criminal justice system because they had a facsimile of a weapon. And so it's really an interesting conversation to have with children, especially very young children who just want to engage in play, but they need to understand the significant implications of having a gun and a toy gun. So.
Right, yeah.
That play resonated with me as well for similar reasons, and just thinking back on always having that message that you don't play with toy guns, they're not toys. And even the child with, you know, not really being able to verbalize why, you know, because we're not always given the why as children. I just was told that's a no, we don't do that, and we don't. And so as you get older and you understand more and you get more information and you realize, yes, it's just a toy, but it could have some repercussions to it and playing. So I think stories like this, it just really evokes discussion and reality that just happens. You know, it's yes, it just, when I read through it and then watching it, it really took me back to my childhood, and then also with my children. I have a 13 and 16-year-old now, but reinforcing that message with them and them, you know, all those things.
You know, I will say, having read the piece and Idris, it's absolutely beautiful. Thank you for writing them. It was such a pleasure to do these with my daughter, and in such a time where we're having these very difficult conversations, as you are with your children. I saw something that said that Tamir Rice would have been 18 this year. He would have graduated high school. And so in our very near lifetime, we have known this to be true. And it's heartbreaking because our children don't get to play like white children get to play. And we have to teach them that the rules are different for them.
Yeah.
And they don't always understand that. And it's heartbreaking that we have to explain to them a reality, that we have to burst the bubble of fantasy and play at such a young age. And yet that is our responsibility to give them the best shot at having a long life. And so I just thank you for writing this beautiful piece. When Barbara sent it to me, I read it and immediately said yes, because it really spoke to my heart.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And then in addition, Nothing Rhymes with Juneteenth really took me back to my youth of like creating songs to explain different historical things. I am a child of immigrants, so I used to make a lot of songs to be like, okay, I gotta explain what this is. And that was my modality with storytelling, and kind of got me into more theatrical work. And I'm curious if like how we can continue to use storytelling to create these modes of change, you know what I mean? To really, because, you know, from history is basically a story that we carry with us, you know, but like, how do you continue to adapt the story, make it more palatable for, you know, a new audience, in a way that they continue to understand and take it with them and pass it down, you know what I mean? Like African-American storytelling is a history in itself.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
That's hip hop.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's what it is. That's it. And that's where I, you know, that's what made me want to write, was KRS-One, you know.
Go ahead, Bill.
Is it our turn?
Yes.
I don't know. What I really loved about the play was that it gave me a connection with my son. And I just thought about how I used to read to him when he was little. You know, it was nothing, you know, when they were really, really small to, you know, go in and read. And he used to read to me and I would read to him. And what's so purposeful is the information that I think is so good. And it's a fun way to learn it. You know, it's not like school where you know, sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to learn nothing right now. But this is just like a cool, educational, fun way to learn about something that's really important in our history. And I think you should write more stuff like this and engage families to talk to each other. That is probably one of the most powerful things we can do, is get that history out there without beating you over the head with it. But just like, so it, like when I saw the play Hamilton, I thought that play was really cool, because the play, you learned a lot of information without even thinking about it. And it stuck with you because it was in the music, and it was just like, so man, I love the flavor of the hip hop. I love that, you know, you made it modern, you know what I'm saying? And the information was excellent. And Aaron, what did you like about it?
Well, I liked how it gave like a perspective of like because in the play, like obviously I was the son and he was like the dad. It gave both perspectives, and how the kid was trying to teach his other classmates and his grade about Juneteenth, because he knew not everybody knows about it, and he was trying to spread the message about his classmates.
Yeah, that's what's up. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, you better keep writing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We need you now. You don't open up the door.
All day, easy. Happy to do it. My pleasure.
I just wanted to interject for a second. I thought it was very interesting, Idris, how the student in the play for the Juneteenth one felt that it was his obligation to educate his classmates. And I find that very interesting because, you know, given our current climate, yes, Juneteenth this year was a very popular holiday. I heard people talking about Juneteenth that I haven't heard speak about it before.
Yeah,
so,
right.
in years past. And so it's just curious that, as that particular student who was in that class, did you do that deliberately in terms of making sure that this kid felt like, oh, I better let folks know about this holiday? Because a lot of people didn't know about it. And I think that people were forced, well, not forced, but it was just very prevalent this year, given the current social unrest and the racial unrest that's going on in our nation. So I thought that was an interesting way that you handled that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I really appreciate Baron you saying that, because, I work at an art center on a college campus, and I've been, along with, honing my writing chops and doing all these things, I've always been close to I've always been in educational spaces and always been mentoring, and I just always got young people around me, and it's because they're brave, and they remind us to be brave, and they remind us to be and as I get older and become a parent, I do more and more things there's less things about me that I really like. I need less and less. I'm like, just good pair of house shoes and, some drink, and I'm good, And so I get so much more satisfaction now out of doing things for other people, for young people in particular, because, I look at like the front lines of this moment of change right now, and it's the young people out there, in the mask, in the tank top, just getting it, and they're brave, And so I wanted to make, to me, like as a playwright, the rule is like, it's always one character that's driving the piece. There's always one character who wants change in some way. And that's usually where you get good drama. And so with these plays, I wanted the young people really active and really real, and I wanted these to be real conversations between parents and kids, different points of view, different perspectives. They're speaking from whatever their age is and what they think is important and how they view the world. And then the adult is speaking from their perspective, how they view the world, but they're also reflecting on when they were kids too. And, I just wanted it to be real. And so that's what you four gave me tonight, which was really dope. And I appreciate is reading you all, reading them with your kids, your actual kids, and, but I saw the real connection that you had with them too. And that was really something I hadn't seen before. Cause I've seen like actors do these, like, you know what I mean? Like two people who are not related. And so it was just really great to see the realness of that in the layers. And so just, again, salutes and appreciation. And yeah.
Yeah. For our families, how was it going through these plays? What conversations did they spark for you guys?
Me? Or I don't know. It was funny because when I told Baron, he's kind of shy a little bit. And then I was like, Baron, this is going to be such a fun thing we get to do together. And he was like, can we tape it? You know what I mean? I was like, no, we're going to do it live. It'll be fun. And after we kept reading and I was explaining to him, I was like, as an actor, I have to do this. This is my life. I have to know lines and I have to like make it normal, make it real for yourself. And I just said, just think about making it like you had a project at school, like real, something that really would happen. He was like, oh, okay. And so then it just made it more natural for him. And I hope that we do more stuff like this because I actually had a good time because, I never thought that I forgot how much I used to read to him when he was really little. And he's so active now and I'm active. I just think it'd be a great way for families to come together and share stuff, So the more, the better.
Yeah.
We had a good time rehearsing this.
I love you guys' glasses. They're so cute.
She had the glasses first, surprisingly. She's had glasses in 16 months, and I got them at 5. So she's the trendsetter in the family. We had a good time. We've never done anything like this before. We have a super jealous she has a younger sister that's a year younger, who wanted to make it, a trio. She was like, can I have a part? So you got to do a play with like 2 kids. Yeah. I'm in trouble. And I told her she'd do the next one. So
No, next one.
We actually talked about the piece. We talked about, what it meant. We do talk about guns, we're in that moment, my children could not help but watch me cry for weeks when George Floyd died. So we've been having really honest conversations about police brutality, about what it means to be Black in America, conversations that I wish I wasn't having with my 9 and 10-year-old daughters. It's painful that I have to teach them about life, when they should be free.
Yeah.
Moment, that they have an obligation to know the harsh reality of racism at such a young age is incredibly painful and a burden that I'm very sad that they have to carry.
Yeah.
Yes, also, that it's only the Black children who have to hear this makes it even worse. Like, it just makes it like that like there's a door that we all want to cross to be like all equal, but only whites get to cross that door. And then the parents have to talk to the children why the Black children can't cross that door. And the fact that only whites don't have to have that painful talk with their children makes it feel even worse. That some kids are just lucky enough that the world's just letting them cross that door.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
Very well said, young lady.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, Sayla, what you're saying, and that is sad because, you guys as the children, you're the future. And I'm so excited to see so many young people and children involved and aware, because these are our leaders of tomorrow. And you guys are going to be changing laws and making it. There have been so many changes years and years and years ago, and it takes time, but you guys, and I think like you're saying, what's important, it can't just be Black kids and Black families. Kids and white families have to talk about it, and then we have to talk about it together, because what happens if the white kids who are able to cross the door on earth, if they don't know that the Black kids have a different experience because that's not their experience and they never talk about it. So now when we talk about it and they understand, I think there's a lot of white kids that will think, wow, that's not nice, and we want to change that. So as they get older and you get older and you become the next president and you become the next congresswoman and those things, and you change those laws and you change what creates those systems to make it where it is different. So you're right. I'm hoping by the time you get to our age, you'll be able to see some really big changes, and we all will be talking about it, not just the Black kids. So that's good. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for that. Kelly, I'm wondering if parents have come to you asking about how to talk about race at home, and if you've given them any suggestions about how to start these conversations, because as you're saying, like, people's experiences are different, but just as when you start meeting children of divorce, you got to explain, one person has only one parent, or, people who are being raised by their grandparents, or people who have parents who are in the LGBTQIA community, it's all of these conversations. So I'm curious as to how to start that conversation about race and when.
Yes. So yeah, I do get that question. And, us Black and brown folks, the way life happens, we're put in situations where we don't have a choice but to have these discussions and conversations. I think of my 13-year-old my cute little baby who's still my baby, but he's looking like a little man now. And I get nervous and scared when he leaves and wants to go to the park. So we have to talk about things and how to be safe. And so I do get sometimes questions from families and people who feel like I don't know enough about the I see what's going on, I'm hearing this, but I don't know enough to talk about it, and I don't know how to speak to it. I think the nice thing with this is the storytelling. We all have stories. Talk about your experience, talk about your story, even if your story is that we didn't talk a lot about race, and we didn't talk about the different walks that people have, and I'm not sure why we didn't, but that's your story. And then I think with kids, you'd be surprised with kids. There's so much out there now. I'm sure there's a level of awareness. So you ask, I encourage people to ask what do you know? What do you know about race and racism? What have you seen on TV? What do you think about this stuff? What do you think of what's going on? And then share your experience. I grew up, we didn't talk about race. And explain why you're talking about it now. Why is it that you are curious, that you're, coming to your child? Be transparent and open and honest. We didn't talk about it, but I think we should have talked about it. And I want us to talk about it. And there's so much great material. These plays are out there. If you Google, there's a ton of books. Sometimes, if you need something to help get the conversation going, there's a lot of, things out there. But again, just being authentically sharing your story and your experience and checking in and just having that dialogue, and not just one conversation, but making it a part of what you talk about.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I see that. And Jennifer, how does that work as an educator?
Oh, well, I was just listening to Kelly, and I was in agreement with much of what she said. I think that you have to begin the conversation and deal with it honestly and openly. And before you can even do that, students have to feel as if they're in a safe environment to have those conversations. So as a school administrator, I do a lot with teachers and talking about building relationships with students, because we want students to feel safe and trusting enough to even have those conversations with the adults in the building. It would be really challenging if they do not feel that they're able to openly communicate with the adults that they deal with. So you have to build those relationships first, about trust and to really kind of collaborate together. And so I encourage teachers, just as I encourage students, that they too should share their stories with students, and to not ignore things, because that just, right now in our current climate, there are black and white elephants walking through our classrooms and through our computer screens, unfortunately, right now. But because we see something, I know that Shelley, that she cried for a couple of weeks after George Floyd. Well, if our parents are crying, our students are viewing and crying and reacting to the same images. And so we need to really have those conversations and talk with them about it openly. We might not have answers, but to have that open collaboration is a starting point, I think. And so we have moments in schools. It's almost like a roll call or a staff meeting. We call it morning meeting. In some circles, they might call it restorative circles or restorative justice approaches to learning, and have these type of places where, yes, we can react to something. And that's why I think these plays, Idris, are perfect, because you can do a short reading. They were short enough to do in an open circle, folks. And so what we can do is actually have students respond, and that can initiate the conversations. So I think that having those moments with kids are vital to learning, because if you just ignore it, then we're not going to be able to get to some of the instructional goals, because we have these weights on our mind. So let's clear the air in the mornings and start our day and continue with kids.
Yeah, thank you. So my next question is to the Williams and the Bellamy's. If you wrote your own play about race, what would you want the message to be?
Well, I thought of the title of my play. If I wrote a play, it would be called "Don't Be Afraid to Know Me," and the message to be that we can learn so much from each other if we just take the opportunity to try to get to know each other. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And there would be some mutual ties in there. I think that a lot of the stuff is ignorance. You know, a lot of it is right now being a Black father, being a Black man in this country, you're just forced to realize, like, you know, a lot of this stuff that's going on is systemic. It's been ingrained in the whole culture of America, and we've always knew how it was there. We always knew how to survive it, right? But they just using the old system. Like, it's like they just left it there and they keep using the same system. We need a new motor. Like, you know, we need a new, where people are coming together. I can learn from my son, he can learn from me, his friends can learn from him, and we all start learning things that we didn't even know. Like you said earlier, one of the people said, a lot of times people just don't know. It's just that simple. They just don't know. And, you know, I would want to do something like that where we could bring the conversation together and share our experiences. And I've been trying to do that. I had a 35-minute conversation with two white guys. It was two Black guys, two white guys at the dog park today. And everybody was like, what's going on? It was crazy. So that's what I would want to do.
Nice. What about you, Baron?
Well, I thought about this. It'd probably be called like Through the Eyes of a Child, or Through the Eyes of a Teen, or just kids in general, and give like a kid's point of view on everything that's going on, because some kids are growing up in this environment. Like I like got some kids like are gonna start like their first year of school like on online school, and I was lucky enough to get a chance to like have that experience for 8 years, and it's gonna be hard for some kids, and that's gonna be the new normal for some of the new kids, and it'd be like their perspective and opinions on what's going on.
Nice. Before I jump to Shelly and Sayla, just a reminder that you can put your questions for the Q&A section in the question place. I don't know if my pointing is the same pointing as what's on your screen.
Right. Oh, like that little button. No, okay, I see it.
Go ahead, Shelly and Sayla.
Well, my story about race would be a story about the country that we built. It would be a celebration of the Black narrative, which has never been told, an embracing of our legacy in this country. It is our contributions and what we have done to build this nation have gone grossly ignored. And I think if our history was told, the conversations that would be had about us would be very different. So I would tell the truth is what I would do. If I were gonna write a story about race, it would start with like really telling the truth of what we did to make this country. What about you, Say?
I would do something like kind of like a report on a Black man and a white man, and just to see how different it is for every person through the color of their skin. It would be called like it's different for me. So you would kind of like interview a white woman and a Black woman about what they say to their children. Like, for example, during the death of George Floyd, how they reacted, and that it's like different for them, and it would help like more people realize that when you put a person in someone else's shoes, it when you put a person in someone else's shoes, it could change your perspective on what's happening to them and how you should help them.
Nicely put again.
Very well put. Yes. Yes. So we're moving into our Q&A session. I can see. Okay, a question from Facebook. With the first play, there was a mention of whether or not the friend's parents were nice to their daughter. Have any of the panelists had to address that with their children or students?
Yep.
Oh, yes. The part where the mom is asking about whether or not I would assume that it's a Black child going to a white household, and of course, that was always in the back of my mind. We live in a suburb of a city, but it's predominantly white here, and you would be curious to make sure that, oh, did they treat you nicely? Tell me about it. And you just probe because you teach your children to report back to you. And so I have been there, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's the thing that you're taught, which is, if you go over to stay the night at someone's house, always be in the room, never be alone in a room, because if anything ever comes up missing, they will accuse you of it. Mm-hmm. So you never go like wandering around the house. You always stay visible. You're super helpful. There is this assumption that if anything goes wrong, it will be your child's fault. So we are raised to know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, it's all about survival for us. Black people, we've been taught since we was little how to win. Like, don't let nobody set you up, right? So when you said that, you reminded me of my grandmother. Don't touch nothing.
No, it's like we get shocked. We walk in and we're like, I didn't touch it. I didn't look at it.
Hey, we're not gonna get that one. Like your grandmother or your mom, they prepare you for. You're not gonna be that fool. You might be a fool, but you won't be that fool. Okay, so we're not gonna touch nothing. Stay in the living room.
Yeah, where they can see you. Only where they can see you. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And my mom would say, you already ate.
Don't pretend like we didn't feed you. Go over there asking for food like we didn't feed you in our house. Oh, yeah.
No, but we can laugh at it because it was just one of those things that that's still in us, because now we do want to protect our children. Now that we are parents, we have to really be sharp about preparing them. It doesn't make sense to hide stuff from your kids. The most important thing is to give them the information, and that's why I think this whole thing is so important, because we're doing the information in a fun way. You know what I mean? We still got to do the mommy and daddy thing, but certain things, I think that it just retains easier when it's sort of fun,
Yeah.
And they better be nice.
Oh, yeah, they weren't nice, because I will march right back over there. Get in the car.
Let's go. Let's go.
My parents always were like, also you have to help them clean up and da-da-da-da. And you're like, okay, cool.
Right.
Everyone's parents are reporting to everybody. It's like, oh yeah, she was very helpful.
Oh my God. You took me back to my childhood on
that one. Cool. So we have time for 2 more questions from the Q&A. So get them into the Facebook chat, and we'll get them up to the panel as well. But yeah, just This has been a great conversation with you guys. I've really enjoyed it working on this. Oh, hold on. Gotta go into the Q&A. Oh, I can't. Hold on. While I'm figuring out where the Q&A is and what's happening with that, I'd love to hear some of the stories probably from your youth of just like dealing with. Oh yes, here we go. For Idris, what advice do you have for aspiring playwrights who want to truthfully tell their story as a person of color or a Black person?
I mean, I think, sometimes we want to do so much, and the thing is to key in to the little moments, like just now, right? Like we started, you asked that question about a moment to play, and it sparked all these memories from everybody, and so it's about finding those little tiny moments and just staying in that moment. Like you don't gotta do too much. You don't have to get too extra. Just pick a little moment and just drop right in the middle of it. Don't need a whole lot of setup, because people know they'll attach their own memories to it. They'll fill in the rest. So it's just got to be true, and you got to just let the people be real people and just let them talk. That's it. Don't try to do too much. And don't try to like jam the whole. I mean, you see, like, the Marvel universe. That's like 30 movies. You know what I mean? like they're not trying to pack it all into one movie. Like, just find the moment, figure out what the characters want. And it doesn't have to be like, I've got to figure out the Fountain of Youth, just something really small. I want to, I'm telling you what happened at Cindy's house, and, I don't want to tell you that we play with water guns, but at the same time, it was mad fun playing with those water guns. Why can't I play with water guns? I mean, that's really what she wants to know.
Right.
Why can't I play with water guns here? And that's what the whole play is about. You know what I mean? Nothing more, nothing less. So that's the advice I would give, is just find that little moment, find that little question, and just live in it, and just let them talk, and then get some talented people like Shell and Selah and Bill and Barron to read it for you.
Nailed it. Because what these little 10-minute plays, I mean, Bill said this too, they're just kind of like a little jump off. Yeah. All you need is just like a little jump off. You have this little conversation, but then you can take it from there.
And you take exactly.
The hardest thing is to know how to start the conversation.
Exactly. So, that's right.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go through your whole canon, because I'm like, I need to talk about puberty, what you got on that. Like, I got stuff to talk about. So keep writing, because there's a lot of things I need to jump off plays for.
Yeah. I got a lot of work out there. You go and play scripts and go to my website. I got a lot of work.
I'm about to do the full on Google deep dive.
Yeah, do it. I read a lot about young people. I read a lot for young people, and occasionally older young people too. But this is what I do. So yes, I'm happy to do it.
So this is our last one. Since this is an election year, how can we deal with the issue of race with our children? And because it seems like everything is really aligned in that way. How do we have those conversations with our kids during this important election cycle? Oh, everyone went to a real thinking phase.
I answered the last one, so I'm falling back.
I saw that. I'm thinking, so talking about race, I think if people think about it's not an option to not talk about race. We should be talking about race always, regardless of because it is a real thing that exists every day. So it's not just, and things are heated now and they're more in your face now, but even when they were not, race has always been an issue. And until we learn to talk about it, whether it's something, because I know, and people talk about being worried because it's an election year or whatever, and things die down, and then we stop talking about race now. We can't do that. So we have to get to a place where we understand the importance of talking about race and explaining what's happening in terms of if those dynamics, how it's impacting the election, how it's impacting police and brutality. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So it's not just because of now. So I think it's just really finding that way to incorporate it into race matters. Race matters, and we have to talk about it, because not talking about it and being silent about it is very dangerous. Very dangerous. That's what has happened for so long.
Yeah. I hate to say that the benefit of COVID is that so many people have more time to start educating and having these conversations. And like before, when movements started, they would die out because people had to go to work. And now it's like, well, you don't have anywhere to go. You might as well.
So, he like, yo, the movement is all day. It ain't no off day with the movement.
Right.
That's true.
When I wake up, I'm in the movement. I wake up moving.
There are young people who may be watching, and I would encourage them to make sure that they do, in fact, register to vote. My youngest just turned 18 on Saturday on the 4th of July, and she is already registered to vote.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Raise them right.
Young people who are becoming adults, make sure you get out there and register to vote, and not only register to vote, but exercise that right. Go to the polls in November.
Yes. Yes.
And tell your kids everything. You hear me?
Yes.
Just keep it real with your kids. I remember when my son asked me, he said, "Daddy, what color am I?" I said, "You brown, just like me." Now he's like, he's like, why is all this stuff going on? And we had to have the discussion, because, we've been fortunate in one way to, live in a neighborhood or be in a school system that, they have everything, right? And all that stuff. And then I try to explain to my kids, like, every kid should be afforded a valuable education, but that's not the way America's set up. Yeah. And then every kid should be able to go to the park with his friends and have a good time and not worry about nothing, but that's not the way it is. You know what I'm saying? If you're in a car with your friends and you're driving and you happen to be black or brown and the cops pull you over, there's a certain way you got to handle that, and you got to tell your kids how to handle that. You can't, like you said earlier, you said you cannot afford, you would be doing a disservice to your child not to inform them of everything. So now they know how to function. It's almost like a superpower to have that information, because now they can adjust to certain things and know how to maneuver,
Right.
And I think that's good. Our parents did it for us, but we just got to do it times 10 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more that it's brought to the forefront, like Kelly was saying, the more that we continue to talk about race and it becomes second nature to all of us, not just Black and brown families, but also white families. The more you continue to have this conversation about race, the more it becomes second nature. And then you're not getting activist fatigue. You're moving forward, and we're becoming more empathetic and open to everyone's experiences. So we're closing out. So I want to thank our panelists. I want to thank our performers, especially Baron and Selah, for showing up and being brave and taking us there. Thank you guys so much. For those of you at home, you can find these plays and the other 3 plays that we didn't read at tyausa.org/freeplay to continue to read all of Idris's plays and have a launching point for these conversations. I'm going to send it back to you, Barbara.
Yeah, I want to thank you, NJ, for being such a wonderful moderator, for directing this. I want to thank everybody on the panel for your generosity of spirit, for sharing your stories, for having this conversation. I hope it's just the beginning. I hope we can have many more. He's got 3 other plays. Let's do them as well. And in addition, we're really proud to say that we've commissioned Idris to do a solo original play based on Harriet Tubman, through a contemporary lens, I think. I haven't seen it yet. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to share it with all of you. And maybe that'll be our next event. And for the young people in the audience and the not such young people in the audience, keep the conversation going, create your own plays, tell your own stories. Please share them with us at anywhere at twusa.org. We will share them with all of our panelists. We will share them with Idris. I know he would love to know that these plays were the catalyst for more creative energy and storytelling, right? He's like, yeah, bring it on. So, thank you everyone for being here on the panel, and have a fantastic evening.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.